back. Since the last video I did go ahead and clean up and install the other head. Went just as planned, no issues there. So in this video we're going to go ahead and start with the lower intake manifold and the headers. So let's get started. With the lower intake manifold you want to clean up the mating surfaces as you would any other, but pay attention, special attention to 4 areas on this manifold because when it's installed with RTV, so you want to make sure you get all the extra RTV off, and it's going to be in these 4 corners, here, 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 and here. And then also do the same on the engine side where it mates up against the engine, which is here, 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 and here. But putting this lower intake manifold on, you're going to start by putting on the gaskets, but just before that, there are 4 places here where we need to put a little bit of RTV, and that's basically in these 4 corners here where the cylinder heads meet the block. And so I like to use this Ultra Black. I had real good luck with it. Just put a little bit in each of these corners. Okay. And there's 4 different gaskets that we need to put on here. Make sure this, little cracks there. And you start by these little guys. These little keepers here I like to squish together because they come kind of wide, and then the gasket can float around a little bit there. So by squeezing them together, I think it better keeps this centered. So put that on there. This one on here. And although these 2 guys look identical, they are labeled the left and right. It says right here, and then front right here. So that one will go in this place. Okay. And left and front here. There we go. And then I like to add a little bit more RTV in these corners here, just for good measure. Certainly don't want to leak here. There we go. And there we go. Okay, once you have the RTV in place there, you have about 5 minutes to get the manifold on and bolted down. Grab the manifold here, and we'll set her down in here, like so. Okay, and we have 2 different size bolts here. We've got long and short. The long ones are going to go towards the center here. Okay, and then we need to torque these down in a specific sequence, which I'll show here in a minute. Okay, I'm just getting these down to where they barely touch right now. I'm not worrying about torquing or order at this point.
Shown here is the torquing sequence that will be done in 2 separate stages. First, all the bolts go to 44 inch-pounds in this sequence, and then once those are all tightened to 44 inch-pounds, we go through the same sequence again to 89 inch-pounds.
Okay, now we can begin torquing this down. This is a 2-stage sequence here. The first pass that we're going to make is to 44 inch-pounds. Starting with this one here. Okay, now for the second stage, it's going to be the exact same bolt pattern, but instead of 44 inch-pounds, we're going to 89 inch-pounds. Alright, the next step would be to put this coolant tube back on. It's got a little tang here that goes into the back of this lower intake, and then this end here is threaded. And this front end fits into the water pump right here. Alright, and let's hook the coolant tubes up to the heater core. Alright, next we'll start working on the exhaust headers and the EGR. In the meantime, I like to cover the top of this motor up just to ensure nothing falls down into it. Okay, before we can put the headers on, we need to put in at least a couple of these header studs. There are two different sizes, a small, short and long one, and there's only 4 long ones, all the rest are short. So the long ones are going to go on the front and on the very back. And it's just a 5 mm to screw them in with. Alright, now that I have the stud screwed into the head, we can install the exhaust gasket. These particular type, this ridge here goes along the bottom side of the motor. We can get the exhaust header on here with a couple of bolts and then put the rest of the studs in. Alright, now we have the passenger side exhaust header bolted in. So now we just need to hook up some of this EGR stuff. There's 3 bolts here that hold this on. And this would be a good time to put the cam position sensor back on, though we still have good access here. Okay, here on the driver's side, I went ahead and just put all the exhaust header studs in because we have a little bit more room to maneuver. The one thing that's going to cause a problem on this side, if you remember when we pulled it off, was that dipstick tube. So what I'm going to do is just kind of fit this on here loosely, just a few threads, and then I'll try to finagle the dipstick tube down into place, and hopefully that'll work a little easier. We'll try the dipstick tube and see if it fits down a little better. Last time I had the engine apart, we'll go ahead and replace the O-ring on here. This is a great time to do it since it's out anyway. Okay, to be honest, the dipstick tube was a little bit of a problem. I have to admit that I had to go underneath the car to kind of guide it in place. Where it enters the oil pan is kind of right behind the motor mount, so very difficult to see. I couldn't see it even with a light down here, so I had to raise the car. I could fill the hole and then kind of guide it in. Then I just came back up here, and you can feel it just kind of snap in. Make sure you feel that snap to make sure it's fully in, fully seated. And when you do, this bolt here should line up with this hole on the tube, and then just go ahead and secure that. Yeah, to get that dipstick tube out, I did end up removing the master cylinder from the brake booster here, just sliding it out and then over a little bit. That was enough to get it off, but it still took quite a bit of finagling. So anyway, got to remember to put this master cylinder back. Okay, now while we still have a lot of open space here, this would be a good opportunity to reinstall the spark plug. Okay, while we still have pretty good access on the sides of the motor here, this would be a great opportunity to start reinstalling the spark plug wires. Alright, for the next step, let's go ahead and put the push rods and rock arms back in. Before you put the push rods back in, make sure that you can pass air through them and they're hollow and no obstructions, that sort of thing. And Before I put it back in, I like to use a little bit of this assembly lube. Just a little bit on each end. So it's well lubricated on that first startup. And make sure you also put the same rods in where they came out from. And then again, before you put these back in, make sure that the rocker arms are lubricated down in here where this rotates on, and then also the ends here where it rides on the valve and then the rocker arm. Okay, I'm just going to run these down now to where they touch. Put no torque on them yet. Okay, now we'll go ahead and start torquing the rocker arms down. This is a two-stage process. The first stage is 44 inch-pounds, so not a whole lot. There. Okay, and then I'm going to swap over to the other torque wrench, and we'll go to 26 pound-feet. Okay, and one thing I like to do once I get all the rocker arms and push rods in place is to just spin the motor a little bit, just to make sure that everything is operating the way it's supposed to, nothing's binding, make sure the valves all come up and down, and they're all doing the thing. And boy, turning this motor, the thing I noticed immediately is there's way more compression here than what I had previously. Wow, what a deal. So anyway, spin it around so all the valves operate. Just make sure that everything's operating the way it's supposed to. Okay, now we can get the injectors and the fuel well ready to put back in. I like to always visually inspect this before putting it back in. First of all, make sure that you have the O-rings on all the injectors, and also make sure that they're clean and free of any debris. And then also I like to look down into the injector itself and just make sure that all the holes are visible and they're not plugged by anything. If they are, you definitely want to get that out of there. And I like to lubricate these O-rings here with just a little bit of silicone. So I just get a little bit on my fingers and then just rub it around. That way they'll slide in nice and easy and not bind up on you. Now we can put the injectors back in. Again, before you ever put it in, make sure that all the ports here where the injectors go are clean and free of any debris. And they are in this case. So just kind of line these up here. And once they're lined up, kind of just gently push them in. You'll hear them kind of click in place here. You just go down the seat here. Okay. And then once those are in, there's 4 bolts. They're 8 mm, 2 on this side and then 2 on the other side. Now let's turn our attention to the valve covers. First of all, I want to make sure that where the gasket fits into the grooves, that it's all free and clear of debris. So I like to take a Q-tip and just run it around in here and just clear out any excess debris or anything that would make it not seal very well. This is pretty good because I had just recently done this. And then go ahead and lay the gasket in place. And once the gasket's in place there, this is on the passenger side. The 3 bottom bolts are these studs here. So these will go into the bottom. And it's kind of nice to put these in ahead of time. As you can see, that kind of protrudes, and there's a little lip that this gasket
kind of clenches onto. So make sure that you push the gasket down over that, and then it'll hold it in place. Yeah, you want to make sure that that's well seated, because if it's not, it could protrude and then create a little leak there. Same thing for the other side as well. There we go. There, just like that. Alright, now let's go ahead and reinstall the valve cover. This side, it's a little tight with the fuel rail in here, but you can kind of slide it in here from the back side first. And the coolant tubes. There. Once we have the cover back on here, we'll just work our way from the inside out and torque these to 89 inch-pounds. And then once these are all torqued down, just repeat the same process for the other side. Alright, before we go too much further, and we still have very good access to all of our connectors on the front of the motor and up on top, this would be a good opportunity to put the wiring harness back on. Before we start bolting anything else up to the motor, I just wanted to make you aware that there's a couple connectors that are kind of hidden, and be sure to get these plugged in before you put anything else on, otherwise it'll be very difficult to access them. One of them is the crank position sensor, which is just right down here. Let's see, there, and the wire just kind of follows up right here on the top, and then of course the cam position sensor, right here. I think all the others we will plug in after we attach more of the accessories. Alright, now we'll hook up some more of the EGR hardware. Right now let's put in the upper intake manifold, and again make sure all the mating surfaces here are very clean. And then here's the gasket. There's a couple of alignment dowels here and here, so make sure that those fit in, and then everything lines up there. And then I can lower in the upper intake manifold. There we go. Alright, that's about all the time I have left for today. In the next video we'll go ahead and finish up torquing on the upper intake manifold, and then we'll start bolting on the accessories. Hopefully we'll finish it up on the next one. Till then, see you next time.